Evening. Today is April 7th, 2025. April 8th. Time is 6 o'clock. The meeting of the Board of Health Commission is now called to order. My name is Mike French. I am the Chairman of the Board of Health. All members of the Board of Health are allowed and encouraged to participate either in person or remotely. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless the chair notes otherwise. Members of the public who wish to view the live stream or the recording of this meeting may do so by going to Northborough Remote Meetings on YouTube via the link listed on the agenda. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will not feature public comment. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Lisa?
Present.
Swati?
Present.
Deep? Present. And Glenn? Present. That makes 4.
Perfect.
Good?
Good.
Good. Want to jump right into it?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, we'll start the meeting off at 200 Green Street. Local upgrade approvals for the septic system. Anyone here to address this?
Good morning, good afternoon, Jeremy. My name is Mike DeMonica, Dan Bagnall, he's the, one of the property owners, and we are here to present our plan for replacement of the septic system at 200 Green Street. The site is fairly rocky in nature. I think if you look at it,
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know if everybody can see it. So the site is bounded by Hill Street here on the south side, and it's right about the corner of Green Street where the sharp corner is, and on the other side is another lot that is under common ownership, which is where the existing leaching field currently is. So what the property new buyer bought the property, there was a Title V inspection done on it. The system passed inspection, but it's also 50 years old. 51. Yeah, 51 years old. So we find in these cases that most of the time they're single occupants, older people, no water usage whatsoever really. And typically those systems will pass, but someone's gonna develop the property, renovate the house, sell it to a family, they're gonna quadruple the water flow. So in that interest, the owner said, well, why don't we look at trying to replace the septic, comply with the code by getting it all in the same lot. And subsequently what we've come up with is this design. The health agent came up with us, we did soil testing we did deep test holes in 2 locations, one here and another up here. And we came up with the soil profiles that are shown on the plan, and we did some analysis because the water was going to affect the perk rate of the soils. And we have located this system as shown. We are roughly 87 feet from this proposed well and approximately 135 from the abutters well. So the other variance that we're asking for is the depth of cover over the system. The code requires 3 feet or less. What we have is a little over 3 feet in 2 locations. One would be over the septic tank here, and then one of the trenches just has a little more greater than 3 feet over the top of it. All the components are designed for H20 loading, which is what the code requires under 14.405. And the reason for that is the depth of this pipe is at the basement floor. It's under the floor height. So, typically in a case like this with the steep slope that goes down to Green Street, we would try and run this tank out a little bit further, provide a little bit less cover over it, and then grade it. But in this case, we don't have a tremendous amount of room between the front lot line and the house. So we need to maintain our 10-foot here and our 20-foot to the leaching field, and then the minimum 10 feet to the front lot line. So to meet breakout, we graded it as necessary for 2 of the trenches, and then we put a small barrier here, which is allowed under the code. The 87 feet may be adjusted when someone gets on site to install it. It was located horizontally across the property this way because there was one larger rock outcropping here. But we dug the test hole right next to it and got sufficient depth. I think we had 10 feet. So I feel as though it's possibly a rock and this system maybe slid this way a little bit. I just don't, I would hate to see it go too far because this 135 feet was developed from Title V inspections for the abutting property, and I'm not sure. I believe they're accurate, but I would just wouldn't want to go to 100 feet per se. I would say it can be slid a little bit once this is determined fully if it's a rock, and the equipment that we had on site wasn't big enough to really mess around with it. But like I said, we did dig 10 feet right on the side of it, so we feel pretty confident that it could be shifted a little bit. But we're here based on that rock and that 87 feet. So this well is also upslope from where the leaching field is. It's a dramatic difference. It's roughly about 15, 16 feet from the top of this casing to this leach field. And the belief is that the groundwater flow is in the southerly direction towards the wetland that's on the other side of the street. But I feel pretty confident that there shouldn't be any issues with the well. I guess I'll take any questions.
Why did you put the well there? Like what?
So the well is existing.
Okay,
Sorry.
all right.
So that's an existing well. And the other question, probably the other question that comes up is why didn't we do something back here? This is all upslope, significant ledge outcroppings. And this, not that this side is usable because it would be even closer to the well, but this is all ledge outcroppings here as well.
Worst case scenario, if that was to be moved to the left from our standpoint, right? How much closer would it get to the other person, the abutters well?
So we'd probably need about 12 to 15 feet to
That would
get
cut it down to 120 feet then.
somewhere between 115 and 120. And that well, I believe it's either at gradient of this or a little bit below it because the property is fairly straight across the front and
Then it goes down.
yeah, and then it goes down. And I still believe that groundwater gradient is away from their well. I think the groundwater gradient is all traveling across the street and then out to the wetland across the street.
What's across the street? Is it just a beach field?
Yeah, yeah.
Just a beach field.
Just a leach field. So the existing septic tank is here in the front of the property. And what they did was, I don't know why, but they came out of the existing septic tank to another distribution box
Okay.
and then went across the street. And as far as we can tell, there's no easement, no recorded easement or anything to use that property, use that right of way to convey the water to the other side of the street. So we're trying to clean that up as well. Someone buys it, they're going to be concerned about it. And as simple as we can make it. It's easy.
But there is no house across the street on that
Right.
property. It's
There
just the leach field is there. That's
Yeah, yep,
it. So it goes on the Green Street basically.
yes. Yep,
Yeah. Well, I don't have any issues on the first request.
Yeah.
The 100-foot requirement to 87 feet. Does anyone have any, thing to add on that? Seems like a hardship enough. That's where it should go. If you can move it around a little bit, you will.
yeah, and obviously if you slide it one way, we'll pick that up on the as-built and submit that to the town.
Good,
I'm good with it. I think it cleans up the system a lot better.
okay.
Like I would agree, it's definitely, just makes a lot more sense having it all in that lot rather than,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
having
Yeah, under
it
two
across the
eleven.
street.
Yeah, under 211, it's supposed to be all on the same line and surface.
How is it 50 years old, the existing?
Living
51.
there.
51.
So, yeah, we're not sure about the occupancy of the
Yeah.
dwelling over the time.
That's what I'm saying.
And it's really hard to say what the water usage was because it's a well, right? Unless someone puts a private
Right.
meter on it to meter how much water they're using. So it could be,
What kind of system is it across the street?
I believe it's trenches. I believe it's leach trenches.
And do we know how big the existing house is there? Because they're just gonna put the septic tank and everything for that existing house, right?
Yes, yeah, there's no,
3-bedroom.
yeah, no plans to change. the design.
All right, and on number 2, allowance for an increase of maximum allowable depth of the system components from 36 inches to 72 inches. Explain that quick.
Sure, so as I said previously, the soil pipe exits the dwelling underneath the floor. So we're stuck with that elevation, and because of the water table and the slope, we need to keep some of the system, we try and keep it up as high as we can, but we need to meet breakout. So Title 5 says 15 feet from the top of the trench, I have to have the same elevation, and then it can slope at 3-to-1 side slopes. We can, and we're trying to add that fill, the extra depth, to meet that in the upper locations, but the lower locations, we just couldn't meet it because of the distance. So we put an impervious barrier. That's why we're trying to grade it. And so we put step trenches in to try and reduce the amount of cover and meet the breakout in a certain dimension.
How's that gonna look? Just like a hill, or it's gonna look like a Aztec?
It should have somewhat of a flatter plateau over the top, and then it will have a little bit of slope coming down. It'll look better than what's there now.
We'll create a bit of a front yard.
Yeah, so there's really,
Very steep.
yeah, so there's really no real front yard to the property, and not much in the back either.
Yeah.
So it's gonna create some better usability of the yard.
And you put down unnatural material.
What is unnatural material?
Oh, what does that mean?
I was discussing that there was a lot of fill on the property. The fill is basically back in the day, whoever settled on the property filled it with whatever they could find. So we had to dig quite deep to get through that fill, to get to the natural
We have no
material.
idea what's in that material.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so it's non-native, and most likely what happened was they put this foundation in on top of ledge, and they needed to fill the front yard because they didn't want to blast or hammer the rock to try and get through it. So they couldn't possibly do it.
Okay, anybody have any questions, concerns, issues on the number 2? Okay, so we're looking for 2 variances. I take this one, Julie? All right, I move that we allow the reduction in the setback from the private well from 100 feet to 87 feet.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We can clean that up down there, Ms. Scrivener.
So I use that? Yes.
And then the second one is the allowance for an increase in the maximum allowable depth of the system components from 36 inches to 72 inch below finished grade as required. All those in favor?
Aye.
Both are done.
Excellent. Thank you very much for your time. So much.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Enjoy your day. Thank you.
How old is the house?
70s?
All right, so they built this, all built together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't get underneath the road. In the 70s, it must have been.
It was probably a cart path, and that's why they went across the street.
Wasn't named.
No.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you.
That's the private.
Well, it's in the way.
Still have letting after.
Didn't care, I
guess, whatever.
guess. Let's go on to discussion of the community bridge guidance, guidelines.
Pass it to Michael.
Oh, I'm speaking. Well, I was sure because I wasn't here last time, so whatever you folks had all discussed and decided last time, apparently is what we're going with. So the big decision, I believe, was that no home cooked meals, which I support as well. I could go either way, but
Yeah.
but that's certainly the decision there. So all we did was try to make the guidelines very clean, very simple. Just inviting people to donate fresh unopened food. We will accept raw meat, poultry, and seafood, but it must be frozen and in the freezer. Individual meals that are commercially packaged are allowed, like you buy a thing from Roach Brothers and just bring it and drop it in, labeled, dated, all that are acceptable as long as they haven't been opened. And then the obvious, like no alcohol, no food without a label, listed no home cooked food, nothing expired, and no leftovers, which is certainly a big one that we saw a lot, unfortunately, from some of our volunteers as well.
Really?
But that's what we ended up putting together, which seems to make the most sense from the feedback we got, excuse me, from everybody.
All right, well, what are we going to do with these?
These are gonna be posted, I'm gonna work with the organizations that are in charge, to make sure it's posted out in the back. So, on the fridge itself, with nothing, excuse me, that's it.
We should
Make
have
sure
a
it's posted.
wooden sign hand painted.
We can certainly do that. It'll look better than this. This is just for us.
Whoa, like this.
We will have it either laminated and certainly looking a lot prettier than this.
We
This is
will.
just for our purposes.
Leave it up to your
Can
discretion.
you address dairy products separately, or is it included somewhere in these things?
I had it in my head that it was inherent in these, that it was accepted, but if you'd rather have it detailed out.
Only because dairy products tend to have a much shorter shelf life. And, I'm just bringing it up for discussion and,
Well,
we could get monitored for that, right? It's probably not gonna last more than a week.
But they're monitoring it, and from everything we've learned from this fridge and a lot of the fridges in a somewhat smaller, or actually anywhere, food doesn't last.
Okay.
Once it gets put in there on Monday, by Wednesday, it's gone, for the most part. From what we hear from this fridge and any other towns that we've spoken to.
and the volunteers are checking twice a day. excuse me.
Twice a day.
It's amazing.
Okay.
Yeah, so even if it's put in Monday with an expiration on Tuesday, we'll catch it, or someone will bring it home.
They don't, they just check it, they don't write it down, okay, this milk is expiring in 2 days, or.
No, they would just toss it if it was expired.
Okay. Medication, we monitor things, right, we keep it for lot
Right.
numbers and medications,
Right.
right, but
Not quite.
not quite as strict.
So milk.
Well,
You'll know if it's
as long as
no
not junk
good.
kids.
You'll know if it's no good.
Well, this is
You don't need
true.
a label for that.
I do have one question about the eggs.
Yes.
There are quite a few people who have chickens in town. And so if somebody wants to donate eggs, which would be great. They might not have the packaging that shows the quote expiration date. So if they want to put it in some sort of package and write when they were laid or something, I mean, not trying to make this a nightmare for you, but I'm curious about that.
I hadn't considered it specifically, I don't think we should, I think they should be accepted. Cause it's lower risk than probably some store-bought eggs in reality. As long as maybe just a date on them, magic marker when they were put in,
Just some common sense.
to some sort of a labeling, just so that anyone looking at the carton and the package knows how long it's.
Okay,
I think that would be fair.
that sounds great.
Labeling is very important.
And we can also
That's number
maybe
one.
provide some like stickers to the side with some markers.
Yeah, labeling is,
Just to assist that process.
they're all, excuse me,
Right.
food items. Just label it.
Good. Yeah, this is great.
Could you through a background check? No good deed goes unpunished.
Yeah.
So it's.
Well, that's good. Thank you for that.
Of course, appreciate all your work.
Let's go on the HHS programming update.
Righty, so happy National Public Health Week. So last week we were busy, it was Wellness Week, we partnered with the schools for a lot of activities. So we had our first Wellness Week, Wellness Fair. So we had about maybe like 50 residents come in. We had over 20 local and state organizations. They kind of set up tables. So kind of like a resource fair, and people kind of went in and out, talked to different organizations. And then we had some child and adult demos and activities. So like a meditation demo, we had hands-only CPR, Narcan training, so kind of to involve the community. So that went well. We also had the Bloodmobile come. They parked at the library, and we had about 50 volunteers for that. So that was great as well. This week started our social work, Caitlin. She has office hours weekly at the library, so that's 3 to 5 p.m. every week. So starting to kind of get involved in the community. People can walk in, drop in hours just to kind of chat, get some resources, or if they needed clinical counseling. We are underway. We're planning for May, which is Mental Health Awareness Month. So busy trying to see what we can offer, advocate, and kind of create a calendar for the month. Similar to the last 3 years, we have a DPH intern. She's a UMass Amherst Master's in Public Health student. So she will be starting in June. It'll go until August, and her project is going to be digital wellness and mental health. So kind of fall right into mental health. The last thing I wanted to add, so the Massachusetts Association of Health Boards, did I say that right? I always get the acronym wrong. They're doing a certification program. It's on May 10th in Marlborough. It is all day, 8:30 to 4 p.m. And they're talking about a variety of different topics: legal authority of boards of health, opioid abatement funds, nuisances, environmental case studies, all of that. So it is, I think, costs $100, and our grant does allow for the Board of Health to attend. So if you're interested, I can send you out the link. Michael, Chris, and I, and a few other staff will be attending, and we'll take notes. But
It's
if
on
you're
a Saturday, right?
it is on a Saturday. But if you're interested, I can send that to you, and then we can get the invoice.
Full hot breakfast and hot lunch.
Yes, lots of food. But those are all of my updates. Does anyone have any questions?
Do they keep track of how much blood was donated at this particular?
I think they do. So I
How
know,
much?
like, amount of like liters of blood.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not sure. It's funny. I tried to donate. They said my veins were too small. So 50 people wanted to volunteer. I'd have to check on the number of people who actually were able to volunteer and donate blood.
How many people came to your summit, whatever you call them, sorry, the public health fair last?
I would say around 50. It was hard to kind of measure in and out, but I would say there was a steady flow. All of the organizations that came were, happy with the outcome. I think hopefully we do it annually, so we'll get some more buzz as the years go on. But I think it was a great first start.
I'm sure the blood will be able to have that information as to how many people donate that.
Yes, I have
Curious,
to double check. I feel like it was around 40, like I think maybe 10%, or sorry, 10 people were turned.
So it's like 40 pints,
Mhm.
right? Give a pint.
They have to check your iron first, and then
Yeah.
your veins, so. That was a great turnout.
Travel history, you won't be able
Yeah,
to
yeah.
donate.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Then they will know if they test the blood to see if they can use it or not anyways.
Right, so yeah, for the rest of the week, we're just doing some health communication about Public Health Week. Yeah, we'll just be doing our steady programming.
That's great. And
That's right.
hear all of that. A lot of work. Thank you.
Yeah, that's.
With that intern, we got 9. You can feel the baseball team.
And then I guess I would add, Teresa is resigning from the Board of Health, so we do have an open seat. So basically how that works is all of you were appointed by the select board, so we'll have applications come in. The select board, and I believe the chair would do those interviews and then kind of do that process.
Here we go again.
If you're watching, Teresa, we will miss you.
We thank you, Teresa.
No?
Sometimes John Cordero just took it all.
Yeah.
John and Jamie at that time.
Sometimes he just,
Save you some time.
that's okay.
And
I personally wouldn't have accepted you on the board.
Hey,
Who am I? That's interesting.
And there were 3 doctors that interviewed at that time. Not you, the other
Really?
2. Yeah, there were 3 doctors that, there were like 12 of us that applied for the position.
Really?
Yeah, 12 applied for that position at that time.
Wow.
And 3 doctors, I was one of them. And I knew the other one. He was cardiologist, very good cardiologist, very good technical, but 0 personality.
Right.
Just
Oh, well.
We can tell us later.
Let's have
That's
a
a
name,
good thing that you
doctor.
are.
But he's retired.
Yeah, that's peace. That's about it. Any other business to come before the board?
And
Everything's
we need to
clean
know
and
any
healthy?
New restaurants.
It's funny, I was just thinking, I wonder if I should give them an update. You probably do know that Blue Square Pizza is
Yeah.
gonna be opening probably in June, they think. It's an empty shell in there right now, so it's gonna be all completely brand new, so it'll look nice. And, I've had it, pizza's good. If you hadn't heard, Brittany's Cafe is closed.
No.
So that this weekend.
Obviously, if you hadn't heard, though, one of the original owners, David, passed away 6 or 7 months ago. I forget
Right.
exactly what it was. And Judy decided to retire. So, they closed their doors about a month ago. And then the gentleman who owns Venus Pizzeria is looking to reopen it as a breakfast. Lunch
In Brittany's.
Pardon me?
Brittany's.
Yeah, reopen
In
Brittany's.
Brittany's?
Yeah, same place. So I was there the other day with him, going over the property. It needs some updating, so he has a little bit of work, a little bit of money to spend. But that, I don't have a time frame yet. I don't know if he signed the paper or not.
Where's Blue Square Pizza?
It will be where Texas Barbecue was across the street from Venus Pizza. So now you can stand on that corner and see 3 pizza places.
Yeah.
Blue Square, Athens, and Venus.
Which from a public health standpoint is not the health.
Yes.
No.
For us, right?
I mean, we certainly heard a lot of pushback on, something on social media, like, why are we letting other pizza places?
Right.
I'm not sure anyone in town should be in the business of
Oh,
dictating what sorts
it's
of
not a
businesses,
smoke
even though
shop,
we
so.
accept no
Yeah.
smoking bars.
Let's be thankful for the small things.
yeah.
Right?
I think that's it. You might have a bigger update on Motel 6.
Oh, yeah, they're looking to break ground soon on their septic system. They're working on renovating the hotel property on Route 9, so they're waiting for DEP demos on the property adjacent to them, so hopefully once that's all settled, they start working on their septic system. And
Next to JJ's?
yes, over, yeah, Route 9 by the junction of 20 there.
No, not JJ's though. Old, Casa Marta.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah.
The Motel 6 is pretty close.
Up in there, still, no one's taken over that place.
We
Is it really
heard a
close?
rumor that the owners were looking to start the process up again, but that's all it was at the moment.
It was $1 million something.
Yeah.
Why couldn't they tie in with the,
There were a few,
while they're breaking ground?
ideas there.
Yeah.
I don't know. There was talks about with Walmart or some other building, even a wastewater, its own small treatment plant or something.
Yeah. The small treatment plants always come, it's always come up. It started with JJ's and a motel, remember?
Yeah.
Cause they weren't allowed to tie into Southborough.
Right.
So they were gonna build their own. It was cost prohibitive.
And the only other thing I will add, our staff and the library staff are actually doing a professional development training on Thursday. It's mental health first aid, so we'll all be trained, to better help ourselves, but also the residents that we serve. Looking forward to
ZB's,
that. That, I think that is it.
you just lost that. Okay. All right, well, let's establish a tentative future meeting date for May 13th. All right. To answer any questions, my appointment's coming up and I will be seeking a reappointment
Oh,
Amazing.
good.
Excellent.
because Teresa left and now we're. Every time I think about leaving, some calamity happens or someone leaves or we shift agents, it's just constant.
Well, we're happy to have, yes.
I like to leave anyway. All right, that's it. I move that we adjourn this meeting for today and we'll pick it up May 13th.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Very good.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.